to break. It's as a matter of fact, you ain't going to do it.
Open look, Gores, he hits it!
What a play called by Tom Izzo in that timeout.
I was 7 years old watching a football game by myself, and I saw those winged helmets come out of the tunnel, and I was hooked at that point.
Kane in Chicago! Oh my God! Kane with the overtime winner!
Jahmyr Gibbs to the end zone. Touchdown, Detroit Lions. You can't cover that man one-on-one. You just can't do it.
He drives, lobs to JD for a jam.
You play real good, you start. You don't play as good, you work your way back in. It's the American way, except America has gotten soft. But that is the American way. That's the way it works.
This is the 6'6" Kane Cunningham.
Jameson Williams, he's got it! Touchdown, Lions! Now it's Larkin with a burst of speed. He scores! Gives the United States the lead for the first time tonight.
Hey, that USA team will begin in earnest its push for gold later on today against Latvia. Welcome, everybody, on a Tullymore Thursday. Glad you're with us on X's and Bros throughout the great state of Michigan. My name is Matt Shepard. Trent Bally is with us. We're glad you are going to spend some of your Thursday with us. The Meyer Hotline is open for your thoughts, 866-838-4843. Your text line is Sports Radio 21,000. We welcome all thoughts, whatever might be on your mind in the world of sports. Bring it on. Pistons hit the All-Star break with an impressive roadkill in Toronto, 113-95 the final there. Detroit shoots 46%. They knocked down 14 triples. Cade Cunningham leads everybody with 28 points, 9 assists, 7 boards. Paul Reed added 22. You're without Isaiah Stewart, right? Okay. I'm wondering how are we going to be able to handle that? How are the Pistons going to be able to handle anything close to their big guy who helps everybody inside defensively and has really found his game defensively or offensively, I should say. Didn't play, suspended. How are you going to do without your all-star big, Jalen Duren? Didn't need him. Toronto was playing good basketball. They'd won 7 of 10 coming in. They were 10 games over 500. This is not a slouch of a basketball team. This is a team that is a middle of the road, but it's a 4 or 5. Remember what Detroit was a year ago of a basketball team. And what happens? Detroit takes care of business with ease. It's not the Bulls. It's not the Bucks without Giannis Antetokounmpo. It's not Brooklyn. It's not Indiana, who, by the way, beat the Knicks a couple of nights ago. It was a team that is trying to climb in the Eastern Conference, and with legitimate reasons. They feel like they could maybe catch Cleveland. Not when they play Detroit. Not when the Pistons were in town. Tobias Harris had a double-double, 12 points, 11 assists. At the break, Detroit is 40-13. And I tweeted this out last night. Perhaps the most impressive thing, they are 26-7 in the Eastern Conference. Nobody else has fewer than 13 losses in the Eastern Conference. Somebody had responded to what I had sent out on Twitter. And somebody said, and yet not much respect from opposing fans for them closing out the conference and making a statement in the playoffs. I don't, I've got to get over this, but the whole lack of respect card, I'm not seeing it. Are you? Do you see a lack of respect for the Pistons from a national perspective? It's not going to come from you and I, right? You and I have the utmost respect for them. You and I believe this team is destined for the NBA Finals, even though the playoffs are much different. So we need to be careful there. New York was a winner last night, but Phil Jackson has come out and said they're not championship worthy. Boston, when they get Jason Tatum back, Boston was a winner last night. They get Jason Tatum back, they're going to be scary. Cleveland with a 1-2 punch. Mitchell, Harden, for sure. Last night, it actually And again, it was against Washington. But remember, Washington came into Detroit and won. It was Sam Merrill. He had 32, a career high, shooting lights out. I don't know if you watched that. He was 9 of 10 from three-point land. Jared Allen had 20, 21. They were unbelievable. So if that's the case and other teams are getting closer, I get it. I get some people feel like if you have to have a Robin, maybe Cleveland and Boston have a better case to be made about that. But you're 26-7 in the East. You have owned the conference. Most power rankings that I view on the various national websites all indicate that Detroit is no worse than the number 3 team in the NBA. And there's nobody in the East above them. So when somebody responds to me on Twitter, and I don't go back and forth, not much respect from opposing fans for them closing out the conference and making a statement in the playoffs. Maybe that's coming from an emotional standpoint of fandom, that other fans are like, I just can't believe it. I can't believe this team had only 14 wins just 2 years ago. They can't believe the ascend that the Pistons have had. That's a possibility. You're out there maybe conversing with fans in other markets. I don't see it from a media standpoint, and I don't think you do either. If you are reading the national websites, they are glowingly in favor of what the Pistons are doing. You know about the suspensions from the Pistons from the fight the other night in Charlotte. Isaiah Stewart's going to miss 7 games. Okay. Jalen Duren's going to miss 2 games. So, but it's not going to impede him playing in the All-Star game this weekend, by the way. So that's good. Here's a little bit of my frustration. First of all, it's a huge sigh of relief because I thought Isaiah Stewart was destined for double digits. I didn't think he was going to do what DeMarcus Cousins said, 25. That's loopy. It's ridiculous. But I did think 10 was a clear possibility. And it ends up being 7, which I went, okay. The problem, obviously, is those 7 games. Now, it was Toronto last night, win. Easy win. Nothing's easy. Comfortable win. How's that? New York, a team you've already beaten by 30 or more. And like I said, just lost to Indiana the other night. And I respect everybody in every sport. And just about, I would say, the players who put in the hard work and their dedication to their craft, greatly respect. But at Madison Square Garden the other night, and we didn't really touch on this, but it was Tuesday night, the Pacers, who had won 13 games going in, beat the Knicks in overtime by 3. So why would we be overly concerned about that, considering, and I know it's not linear, why would we be overly concerned when you've already beaten the Knicks by 30 or more in both games that you've played them? And it's a team that at home doesn't use its home court advantage very well, if there is such a thing, by losing to a Pacers team that had won 13 games and put up 124 points in regulation. So maybe, just maybe, I should pull the reins back on that concern over the Knicks. The other games that he's going to miss, Chicago, which was beaten again last night and looks awful. And then I'll give you the 4 other ones when we come back. Plus, we've got a few more things like the Michigan basketball win last night that was incredible, and the Mitch Lyons Wealth Poll question. It's all coming up here on a Tullymore Thursday. A little bit later on, Keith Smith, NBA writer, joins us at 8:35 on X's and BrO's.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLionsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
From Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Muskegon, Petoskey, Charlevoix, Traverse City, Cadillac, Lansing, and beyond, you are listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard only on the Michigan Sports Network.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive boys and girls high school sports, MHSAA.tv. That's MHSAA.tv. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Basketball is what he eats, sleeps, bleeds, and every time he gets an opportunity, it's quick twitch and ready to go. And, I've never seen, and you guys don't get the opportunity to see what we see, but a guy who prepares himself every day like he's going to start and play 48 minutes. The way he trains, the way he conditions, the way he takes care of his body, he could play at that speed for 48 minutes after not playing for 2 weeks. And again, that's a credit to him, putting himself in that position, but being a consummate professional.
Pistons head coach J.B. Bickerstaff on Paul Reed. What a game he had. If I asked you, welcome back, by the way, in the 113-95 win over Toronto, who played the most minutes in a Pistons uniform last night? Who would you have said? Most people would have said Cade Cunningham. Perhaps it would have been a Tobias Harris. You'd have been close. You'd have been wrong, but you'd have been close. It's Paul Reed, 33 minutes, 22 points. If I said to you, who had the best plus-minus in a Pistons uniform last night? Who would you say? The way I set it up, you'd probably say Paul Reed. He's a plus 21. That's close. You'd have been wrong, but it was close. It's Cade Cunningham with plus 26, so a little bit of a switcheroo there. Bottom line is, Paul Reed came in. This team did not skip a beat. Duran's important. Stewart's important. Reed's important. Thompson's important. Jenkins is important. We can go all the way down the list. All of them are important. The most important, we all know who it is in Cade Cunningham. But everybody plays that role, however long that role may be. Kevin Huerter played 21 minutes last night. Hit a 3, scored 9. May not seem like a lot. Trade deadline guy only got us 9 points. 9 points were pretty important. Karis LeVert hit a nice 3 from the wing. Actually hit 3 of them. 9 points in 18 minutes. Would you take it? Absolutely. That's production for sure. Dennis Jenkins comes in. 8 points, few rebounds, gorgeous feed up ahead for Tobias Harris with the left hand. Important minutes, productive minutes. It's hard to look at this team on a night-to-night basis and say, who doesn't deserve to play? Who's not good? The obvious, Bobby Klinkman, okay. Chaz Lanier, okay. Probably Marcus Sasser because he's been leapfrogged by Dennis Jenkins, okay? That's why you don't want to get hurt. That's why so many guys want to play. Marcus Sasser feels like those should be my minutes. And I respect that. I understand that. That's a competitor. You want that out of your guys. Those should be my minutes that Dennis Jenkins gets. If I hadn't gotten hurt, well, the Wally Pipp, right? You know the story. Wally Pipp gets hurt. Lou Gehrig comes in. The rest is history. He never leaves. Impressive win for Detroit. Because, like I said, I'm a little worried. Toronto scares me a little bit. I thought for sure it was a team that, might be out there. Shows you, it does show you sometimes when you try to create the emotion associated with it. Toronto's getting ready for a game. Okay, listen, last game before the All-Star break, we're playing the best team in the Eastern Conference. Let's show them something, guys. Let's show them who we are. Let's show them that we're not going to lie down. Let's show them that there are other teams in this conference that you're going to have to reckon with. And we're one of them. All right? 1, 2, 3, break. Post game. Guys, we got a long way to go. That team's really good over there. And they were missing 2 of their best low post players. And we just got they just beat the hell out of us. Just so you know. Go back, take the break, wherever you're going. Find a beach if you want. Maybe just sleep in a little bit more than usual. All I want you to know is when you come back, that's the team that we have to be measured against. That's what it is. That's exactly what it is. Detroit won every quarter except the 4th because they were up so big. Michigan, in the meantime. And by the way, my son showed me something last night. There's this Paul Reed. I mean, how perfect is this? There's this account. Trent, I'm sure you've seen plenty of these. There's this account on social media. It's how much they love Paul Reed. So what do? They're just full of little memes of how much they love Paul Reed. When Paul Reed goes into the game, here's a little meme for it. When Paul Reed scores, here's a little meme for it. When Paul Reed grabs a rebound, here's a little meme for it.
Yeah, on Valentine's Day, they'll have a Paul Reed Valentine. Like some of it's tongue in cheek, but yeah, there's these fan accounts that latch onto one player, and it's very funny.
Yeah, it is, and you cannot. He's one of those guys. I don't think it's a cult hero. It's not Dan Skipper, for crying out loud. All right. Paul Reed's more of a contributor. All right. And he looks like an old guy, doesn't he? Doesn't he look like the second coming of Buddha Edwards?
Yeah.
No, be honest. Okay. He's 26, man. He's 26. He's a second-round pick of Philadelphia. I'm not sure if people know that. And all he's done is come in and played his role like to perfection. 6'9", 210, 215, something along their lines. Don't look at the numbers right now, because his numbers would tell you he averages 6 points, 4 rebounds, and shoots 59%. There are other things. There are intangibles that he does. I don't mean to get on the Paul Reed, half-hour program here. I'm just telling you what I love most about this team. People talk about this team, and they immediately gravitate toward the All-Stars. What I love most is perhaps the unselfishness. Like people talk about the connection this team has, the unselfishness and the willingness to play a role is underscored. But I'm not sure enough people are literally talking about it. They talk about how close the team is, the brotherhood of the team, the grit of the team, all those different things. But if you take a deep dive and you look at the way this club goes about its business, and you see how so many players are willing, without bitching and moaning, so many players willing to play the role that they've been given. It's hard when you're having that much success as a team and as an individual when you are getting the opportunity. It's hard not to say, see, I told you what I could do. You should play me more. See, I told you I could score. Give me the basketball more. And this team doesn't do that. At least not in front of us. I doubt it's behind the scenes. That would be squashed right away. But who can say behind the scenes? These guys are literally all in for one another. And some people would shake their head and roll their eyes a little bit, but this is what the greatest teams in sports do. Important to have that Batman and Robin? Absolutely. But if you can have this instead or in addition to, depending on how you feel about whether, Detroit has a Batman and Robin, they definitely have a Batman, then that's just icing on the proverbial cake. It's a beautiful way to watch the game. Michigan is very similar to that because Michigan could literally start, I would say, 8 to 9 guys. They faced their largest deficit last night. They were down 16 in the second half, early part of the second half. They looked like crap at Northwestern. They looked like they were taking Northwestern for granted. They looked like they were disinterested. And something clicked. And they end up coming back, and they beat the Wildcats by 11. 19 of their 23 wins. Michigan's 23-1. They're going to be number 1 in the country if they beat UCLA this weekend, and I would assume they will. But 19 of their 23 wins are by double digits, 10 points or more. 7 of their wins are by 20 points or more. It's incredible what they've been able to do. I believe it's 7, right, Trent? Something along those lines. I think it's 20. They've got 40-point wins for crying out loud, but it's a record, what they've been able to do. They went on that 15-2 run after halftime. They outscored Northwestern 52-31 after the break. Something clicked. And I wonder if that's a double-edged sword. I'll explain what I mean when we come back. Fast-moving show here on a Tullymore Thursday. Don't forget Keith Smith of the NBA, joins us 8:35. We're going to replay our interview with Alex Avila at the top of the hour in case you missed it from yesterday. A lot of fun talking about Justin Verlander's return and more. This is X's and Bros, brought to you by Mitch Lyons Wealth.
Make Valentine's Day a good deal better with sweet deals on from-the-heart gifts and treats. Spend $24.99 or more on select fresh flowers and enjoy free Meyer home delivery with M-Perks. Select Valentine's candy is buy one, get one 50% off. And Valentine's Day exchange cards are 25% off. Everything you need for Valentine's Day in just one stop. That's the good life at Meyer. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meyer app.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan. Now, they continue to grow. They got their worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are worldwide. They are the leaders when it comes to accounting, CPA, and business needs. Simple and easy. Just Google Dorn Mayhew. And also, Josh Garvey joins me every Tuesday as we talk hoops with former Michigan and Cleveland Cavaliers head coach John Beilein. Tuesdays, 5 p.m., Josh Garvey, Coach Beilein, and myself, we talk Michigan, Michigan State, and the Pistons. Talking hoops happens all the way through the NBA Finals. And could you imagine if the Pistons are in the NBA Finals? If you ever have a hoops question for us, you can drop it at Huge Show on Twitter, The Huge Show on Facebook, and Talking Hoops every Tuesday at 5 p.m., presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. We'll be right back after this break, but while you're waiting, be sure to vote on our daily poll question presented by MitchLyonsWealth.com at XB Mornings on X.
By the way, did you see that? Welcome back, 35 after the hour. Did you see the live tournament in which Bryson DeChambeau sculled a drive?
No, I didn't.
You gotta look.
I'll look that up right now.
Okay, so he tops a drive. I think it's a par 5, and it literally, I mean, it's not a worm burner. It gets off the ground a little bit, but skips, I don't know, maybe 50 yards in front of him and then rolls a little bit. He's about 247 yards out. That's the reason I think it was maybe a par 5. Well, maybe not. Maybe it was a par 4. Maybe it's a par 4. Anyway, he takes a hybrid, smokes it onto the green. And then I think he ends up getting par. But it was unbelievable, the shot that he hit. Like, as bad as the drive was, I mean, he shows that he's kind of one of us. The second shot was absolutely obscene. You've got to check that out. You'll be blown away by it. And anybody who plays golf can relate. You're like, aha, but you could never do what he did. Welcome back. X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, 6 until 9, throughout the great state of Michigan. We also stream live on X, on Facebook, and on YouTube as well. We were talking about some basketball. I'm going to give you these numbers. I want you to name the player. You ready? It's a little bit of a game. It's a tough one, but I'm going to give you the numbers. You ready, Trent? In NBA history, only one player has reached, before the All-Star break, 1,000 points, 475 rebounds, 400 assists, 250 free throws made, 75 triples made, and 30 blocks. One player in NBA lore has reached those numbers before the All-Star break. One more time, 1,000 points, 475 boards, 400 assists, 250 free throws made, 75 triples made, and 30 blocks. Who is he?
Is it Cade?
It is not.
Is it Jokic?
It is.
Okay, that was my first guess, but I thought maybe Cade had a shot.
Actually, Cade was your first guess. But
well, yeah, Jokic was my first thought. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I had to be a homer for a second.
Yeah, well, I figured. By the way, he missed 16 games.
Yeah, he's unreal. He's unreal. He's unreal, and he's not going to be able to make any of the All-NBA teams or anything because he's missed. He's probably not going to get to that 65-game threshold.
Oh, I thought he will be able to. Well, he can't miss more than a game left.
Yeah, he's like on track. I mean, he's not on track to be eligible, I guess is the point. And there's an outrage about it because.
What do you think of that rule?
Yeah, I don't know. I think you got to trust the voters because the people voting on that, they cover the league very closely. They pay attention. I think if you play 63 games, but your numbers are what Jokic's are, I don't see why you should be ineligible.
I wonder where do you think the 65 comes from?
That's the good question because I don't know. I think they had to put a cap on it somewhere, but it does kind of feel like they just threw something at the wall with the 65 number.
Yeah, I wonder if the league, I'm sure this is possible to look up, is all you got to do is quick search. I just wonder why they think, 79% of the games is important.
That's what I mean. Like, why didn't they pick 62? Then you can miss 20 games, or pick 67. You can miss 15 games. Why 65?
Well, my thought, like I said, 79% or is what you'd be looking at, right? 65 of 82. I guess my question would be, how about 75%? I mean, why 79%?
Yeah, it's odd.
If you did, like you said, if you did 62, that's 75% of the games. Now, I don't think that's anything special. You show up 75% of the time for work, you're probably going to get docked. But still, I do wonder about that. Last night, so going into the game, there was a bet out there that somebody had told me last night. They said, do you think Jokic will be able to get, with points, rebounds, and assists, 50 Total them up, it's 50. Would you put money down on that? I said, Jokic playing Memphis. Yes, I would. I would take that bet.
Those are fun bets to take, too, because you don't necessarily need to be scoring. You just need them involved in everything.
Exactly. And there's very few players you could do that with, though.
Oh, yeah. For 50, yes.
Yeah, here was his line. You ready? 26 points, 15 rebounds. So there's 41. You know what he needs? He needs at least 9 assists. 11 assists.
There you go. So we had 52 total.
Yeah, you would have won. That would have been a good one for the Daily Wager, brought to you by Soaring Eagle Casino and Resort. Anyway, back to Michigan real quick. Hell of a comeback win for them. And back to Isaiah Stewart, who else he's going to miss. And we mentioned Toronto last night, New York, they've already beaten by 30 plus. Chicago shouldn't be a problem there. The Bulls have been awful. I mean, I think they're pretty bad no matter what, but especially since the trade deadline. Okay. And a team that was beaten again last night, no surprise. Boston steamrolled them. Do you follow? Are you a guy who goes and follows what you once had in Jaden Ivey? He came off the bench last night, had 10 points in 29 minutes. It's 4 of 9 from the floor. But still, they got blown out. Okay, they lost by 19. Then you've got San Antonio, who came from 16 points down to beat the Warriors last night. These are the things that we're going to get into now as you move forward, knowing there is no football. You have to start looking at all of these. If you think your team is a championship contender, then it's okay to look at some of the teams you think they might play for a championship, like San Antonio, Victor Wembanyama, 26 points, 9 rebounds. He only had 4 assists. Shows you the difference overall game between him and Jokic, at least last night. San Antonio is really good, man. They're really good. They were led by Wembanyama and De'Aaron Fox. De'Aaron Fox had 27. So they beat Golden State, and they've got 38 knockouts. Detroit's got 40. San Antonio's got 38. So watch them. You're going to play without Isaiah Stewart against San Antonio. You're going to play without Isaiah Stewart, Oklahoma City. They won last night. You're going to play Cleveland for the first time since they got James Harden. They rolled last night. And you're going to play Orlando. Those are the games he's missing, the 7 games. Toronto last night, New York, Chicago, San Antonio, OKC, Cleveland, and Orlando. It's a bit of a gauntlet. Sure, save Chicago and Orlando. But the other teams are, including Toronto last night, are all really good teams. The Michigan win, Yaxel Landenborg had 15 points, 12 boards. Wolverines will be number 1 in the country if they beat UCLA. The comeback of having 2 bigs on the floor at the same time. Ademara, Yaxel, and then you look at Landenborg. It was a clinic on what they did, hitting 11 of their first 12 shots in the second half, and then buckling down defensively and intimidating Northwestern. While watching this game, I said to myself, Northwestern looks really good in the first half. And when they were up 16, the thing I said out loud is, can Northwestern keep playing at this high of a rate for the next 17 minutes? Like even in the first half, can they really do this for 40 minutes? And then if it does get tight, and I'm not claiming that I knew it was going to, but if it does get tight, how will they react? And when Michigan got to within 5, you could see Northwestern starting to look around a little bit like, uh-oh, they weren't doing the same things. Now, they couldn't because Dusty May had a brilliant maneuver. He brought in the bigs. He played them side by side. And it created all kinds of penetration issues for Northwestern. That's not a drop. Northwestern had to start settling, and they were missing jumper after jumper. They looked like Michigan in the first half. So it was a brilliant move on Dusty May's part for a Michigan team that is, like I said, 23-1 on the year, 13-1 in conference play. I mentioned Team USA. They're going to open against Latvia in the Olympics. Michigan native Connor Hellebuck is expected to start in net. Here's the Mitch Lyons Wealth Poll question for you. We ask you one every day, which team is more likely to win a title this year, the Pistons or the Tigers? Pistons or the Tigers? Vote as often as you want at XB Mornings. We've got you covered. I'll retweet it at ShepMatt, and we will give you the results tomorrow. We did miss an NBA milestone the other night, by the way. So this is my fault. Should have brought it up. Kevin Durant had another big night, and sure doesn't play like his age. He had 26 points in a win for Houston, and he passed Dirk Nowitzki for 6th all-time on the NBA scoring list, the all-time scoring list. So kudos to Kevin Durant. And the other thing that we should note is the 20-point performance, okay? 1,000 times in his NBA career, he has scored 20 points or more in an NBA game. There are only 3 other players in the history of the sport who have done that. Who are they? Who are the 3 players in the history of the NBA to have scored 20 points or more 1,000 times in a game?
So you got to play a long time, of course. So I'm going to say LeBron.
That's correct. He's one of them.
God, Kobe?
It would also mean you scored a lot of points.
Yeah, for sure. So I'm going to guess Kobe.
That would be incorrect.
Oh, dang.
Let me give you a hint.
All right.
All 3 of these men played for one team. Not at the same time, but they played for one team.
You mean like they all played for a common team, or they played for one team their whole career?
No, they not for their career. No, they played for one team, one common team.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Kareem.
But not at the same time. Yeah, Kareem is one. So you have Kareem and LeBron. Who's the other?
Wilt Chamberlain.
Good guess. Karl Malone.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he did play for the Lakers, didn't he? That's funny.
Yeah, well, yeah. Ask the Pistons.
Oh, yeah.
Because they beat his ass. Anyway, pretty special moment. So lots of credit there. So good stuff. All right. Yesterday, was it yesterday? Yeah, it was yesterday. Pistons GM, president of basketball operations, Trajan Langdon, said on the flagship in Detroit, when asked about, the possible deep playoff prediction, he said, "We haven't even won a home playoff game, so I'm not going to talk about NBA championships." How do you take a comment like that from the leader of your organization? He said, "I think we've shown we can beat any team. We also realize that we haven't won a playoff series yet either. So although we're having a good regular season thus far, the playoffs are a different monster. We don't have a lot of experience there." Does that put you on your heels a little bit? Do you feel like he doesn't have confidence in his team? I think he's got great confidence in his team. I think a player and a coach and or a front office person who is asked about these things in the middle of a regular season when it's not over is going to give you a very similar answer. A veteran player, maybe not a young player. Like Chaz Lanier, if you and I asked him, he'd be like, "Oh man, we're dope. I think we should. I think we're going to be. I believe we're going to be NBA champions." But Tobias Harris would be like, "We got to get through the regular season first." Been there, done that. They've gone through it too many times.
Yeah, and what Trajan Langdon's essentially saying is we're not throwing a parade for getting to 40 wins before 20 losses, like everyone's talking about. He's like, it's great, but we have our sights set on other things, and we just
nor should they.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's the perfect response.
But I don't think I do too. It's an understandable response. I think what everybody wants to hear is, yeah, I think we have a team that is capable of winning it all. That's what they want to hear. You're not talking for the fans here. What you're doing is you're talking for your team because everybody knows the team is going to have that feedback. At some point, somebody was going to ask a Piston, "Hey, your team president said this." And then those players take that cue. They're not going to contradict him. They're not going to say, he doesn't know what the hell he's talking about, man. If he were here with us in this little room, he would know we're ready, man. We're going to win the championship. And blah. No, what they're going to say is he's right. We didn't even win a home playoff game last year against the Knicks. We haven't won a playoff series. It's interesting. So many people who feel like you have to have learning lessons because that's what we experienced with the Pistons in the 1980s and early 90s. And it's perhaps what we experienced with the Pistons in 2004. Now, that experience sure as hell didn't help them after they were done. They won the championship in 2004. They kept staying right around that. It didn't help them, did it? So when people talk about that linear progression, wrong answer, man. Anyway, those people who feel like you have to learn lessons now feel like are the same people who are saying this team is NBA championship worthy. Wait a minute. They haven't taken that linear step that you constantly refer to. Because one playoff series and not winning that playoff series wouldn't be linear from going from 0 playoff series wins to an NBA championship appearance. I think it's the right response too, because he is not getting caught up in a moment. That's what I love about Trajan Langdon's leadership. We can do that because we talk about them on a regular basis. We can do that because we feel that emotion when we watch them play. Trajan Langdon looked at them completely different. He's not watching it from an emotional standpoint. He's watching it from a basketball knowledgeable standpoint. What are we missing? What are we seeing? Where are we successful? How are we going to continue at this rate? J.B. Bickerstaff would say the same thing. There's no question. He would say the same thing. So there are some people who are a little stunned by it. I don't think there's any reason to be. None whatsoever. I do have a mock NFL draft that I want to discuss. But when we come back, we're going to replay our interview with Alex Avila from yesterday. The Tigers are a team that had pitchers and catchers report yesterday. Alex Avila had talked with Justin Verlander before he signed with the Tigers. His thoughts on why this is a good move when we come back on X's and Bros. We're brought to you this hour by our friend Mitch Lyons Wealth and MitchLyonsWealth.com.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan. Now, they continue to grow. They got their worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are worldwide. They are the leaders when it comes to accounting, CPA, and business needs. Simple and easy. Just Google Dorn Mayhew. And also, Josh Garvey joins me every Tuesday as we talk hoops with former Michigan and Cleveland Cavaliers head coach John Beilein. Tuesdays, 5 p.m., Josh Garvey, Coach Beilein, and myself, we talk Michigan, Michigan State, and the Pistons. Talking hoops happens all the way through the NBA Finals. And could you imagine if the Pistons are in the NBA Finals? If you ever have a hoops question for us, you can drop it at Huge Show on Twitter, The Huge Show on Facebook, and Talking Hoops every Tuesday at 5 p.m. presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew.
Grocery shopping at Meijer is a good deal better with family favorites for under $2, like red seedless grapes for $1.88 per pound. General Mills Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Honey Nut Cheerios, just $1.99 each. And select varieties of Meyer pasta are only $1 each. Great family meals at a great value. That's the good life at Meyer. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meyer app.
Ferris Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Ferris Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
No catcher in baseball history has caught more innings from Justin Verlander than Alex Avila, the All-Star, the Silver Slugger, the man who played over 1,000 games in Major League Baseball and an outstanding analyst for MLB Network, joins us here on X's and Bros. Alex, always good to visit with you. Thank you for your time. We appreciate it. So Justin Verlander comes back to Detroit. He spent his first 13 years here, as did you with him. What was your initial reaction to it?
Oh, I was extremely excited for him. I was actually just recently, a few days ago, was talking with him. So, and up until, when I last talked to him, there wasn't much headway as far as, something getting done, this quickly. He had told me, there were, several teams kind of calling, kind of kicking the tires and just kind of trying to figure out their situation before kind of pivoting to him. So he was just kind of waiting. And then, and that was kind of like the last, I understood and kind of how his free agency was going just a few days ago. So it's obviously, came together pretty nicely. And yesterday was a really a nice surprise, just kind of seeing that unfolded for him. I'm happy for him for the opportunity, because I know he's talked about it with me on several occasions, like really, wanting to go back to Detroit and pitch there again.
What's he got left, do you think? He'll be 43 in 8 days, I believe. 9 days. Yeah. What's he got left?
It's amazing, Shep, isn't it? Yeah. But I mean, when, watching him pitch, last year, he still has incredible above average stuff. Like when you're, he's still throwing in the mid to upper 90s with the good breaking ball, good slider, good curveball. And, he ran into some bad luck early on in that year, with the Giants, a few leads kind of lost late in the game for him when he came out. He had the pec injury early in the year. But then, really his last 13, 14 starts, the second half of that season, he pitched incredible. Not just for, a 42, 43-year-old, but just, for any good major league pitcher. I mean, he had a run in the second half that you could probably put up there with, the top 10, top 15 guys in the game as far as his effectiveness, down the stretch for the Giants in that second half. So I've got no doubts that he can be a big contributor for the Tigers rotation. And knowing Justin, and you've been around him a bunch, like he would not be doing this if he didn't feel he could be maybe not like what he was in his prime, but at times a dominant pitcher and someone that's going to give them a chance to win. I've talked about this before with other people, like, obviously the Tigers have a team to go to the playoffs. Like he sees himself as being one of those guys making a playoff start. And he expects himself to pitch that way. So if he didn't think he could pitch at that level, he wouldn't still be playing.
Yeah, people need to remember he made 29 starts last year. That was the most he's made since 2019, and he logged 152 innings. And I know that's not a lot by yesterday's standards, but that's more innings pitched than Casey Mize, who I like a lot. Alex Avila caught 850 and 2/3 of Justin Verlander's career here in Detroit. Nobody has caught more. He of the MLB Network, an outstanding analyst, joining us here on X's and Bros. And everybody wants to know. Because they love the emotional attachment. We love you guys because of what you've been able to do, which is great. That's not what I look at. Maybe this is me getting older in my years. I look at who's going to help me win. I think he can help you still win because he's, quote unquote, slotted in the right part of a rotation. Do you think this is emotional from the Tigers, or do you think this is strategical because he still has what he has?
Well, the beautiful part about this is that it plays both with the nostalgia of what he's done in the Tigers uniform and for Tigers fans, but it also fills a need, and one that I think AJ Hinch and Scott Harris think that that Justin is not just going to we're not just bringing Justin in because it's a feel-good story. That he's expected to help us, get to where we want to get to, playoffs and eventually win a World Series. So I think that's the beauty of this, because so many times you see this happen where, a great player comes back for kind of like a swan song. But this is not really the case. For Justin, it's, like I said, he would not be doing this if he didn't think he could, really make an impact in this rotation. And not quite honestly, I don't think, the Tigers and Scott Harris would have entertained this if they didn't think he had the ability to do that as well. The way that Scott has been making decisions, as far as like the roster construction, has proven to be very valuable for the Tigers over the last few years. To put them in a position to have gone to the playoffs the last couple of years and be the favorites going into this season for the AL Central. So, you have to commend that. And I don't think they would be doing this, as just a feel-good story. There's too much on the line, I think, with this talented Tigers team to do that. So, Justin's coming in to be a major contributor for this rotation.
I love what they have. I think we've gone a little bit overboard in Detroit about the best pitching staff. I still think Seattle and Toronto have better starting pitching. I love Seattle with Castillo and Kirby and Wu and Gilbert and Bryce Miller. But this lengthens their starting rotation. Somebody asked me this yesterday. He also provides that veteran leadership that they need. I don't know if that's the case because, Tarik Skubal's 29. Framber Valdez has been around a little bit. How much of a factor do you think that plays, just being a clubhouse presence and being a pitching staff presence, because how hard he works? That dude is an absolute horse getting his body ready for a long season.
Yeah, well, it's presence, and there's a gravitas, to Justin when he walks into the clubhouse, and but like you said, obviously Tarik is won the Cy Young back-to-back years, has pitched really well in the playoffs. Framber Valdez, his resume speaks for itself as far as what he's done the regular season and the playoffs, and and the Tigers have shown that the last couple of years getting into the playoffs, last year getting to the championship series, their players have matured and have taken those kind of next steps in how to manage a 162 game season. I think Justin just kind of adds to that, as far as like when things are getting tough, when you're going through that grind of the season, to kind of stay the course, not to panic. And when you have a veteran, when you're adding a veteran like that understands that, it helps those guys that maybe not have gone through it as much, but still have that kind of experience to be able to withstand those struggles over the course of 162 games. But I do know, last year, Buster Posey kind of, quietly talked about it, amongst, baseball circles, that, he was extremely impressed on, Justin's ability to kind of play that mentor role with guys, even guys that have been in the league and had success in the league. So, it's definitely a role that he's taken to over the last, few years at the end of his career here. Because one, he knows what he needs to do himself to be ready to pitch. So that allows him to give some of that time and knowledge to other guys that are also still trying to figure it out.
Love the insight, man. So greatly appreciated. You do such a great job on MLB Network. I've said that time and time again. I say it because I mean it, and it's true. Thanks for a few minutes of your Wednesday morning with us. Keep up the great work, my friend. Hope to talk to you again soon down the road.
Appreciate it, Shep. Anytime.
You bet. Make sure your dad says, give my best to your dad. Good man. Just a wonderful man, Alex Avila and Al Avila, with us here on X's and Bros. Good stuff. Thanks, Trent. Appreciate you being able to reach out to Alex Avila and his willingness to come on a Wednesday morning. We got a busy 8 o'clock hour.
Great stuff from Alex there. That was awesome.
Yeah. He's so good. I know why people always say catchers are the smartest. They're like offensive linemen, right? Make great analysts. He is a great analyst, and I mean that.
The Michigan Sports Network is your exclusive home for X's and Bros with Matt Shepard and The Huge Show later today at 3 p.m.
Grocery shopping at Meijer is a good deal better with family favorites for under $2, like red seedless grapes for $1.88 per pound. General Mills Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Honey Nut Cheerios, just $1.99 each. And select varieties of Meijer pasta are only $1 each. Great family meals at a great value. That's the good life at Meijer. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
Huge here for the Michigan High School Athletic Association. You can stay up to date on the latest from Lansing 24/7 at MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. The latest news, press releases, and stories connected to every high school in the state of Michigan, available for you 24/7 from the Michigan High School Athletic Association. Log on to MHSAA.com, at MHSAA on Twitter, and MHSAA on Facebook. And if you're looking for archive, boys and girls, high school sports, MHSAA.TV. That's MHSAA.TV. 24/7, everything you need to know about high school sports in Michigan. Log on to MHSAA.com.
Farrah's Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
couple things that I've been thinking about regarding the Lions. Welcome back, X's and Bros, Monday through Friday, throughout the great state of Michigan, wherever it is you may be listening. We appreciate the time very much. Cadillac WKAD, the Ticket 93.7 FM. Of course, the flagship Grand Rapids that also serves Kalamazoo and Holland and parts of the great western part of our state, WMAX 96.1 FM, The Game. Been there for a long time. Petoskey and Charlevoix, WMBN 104.7 FM, The Ticket, Northern Michigan. And Traverse City, WKAD 93.7 FM, The Ticket. And our friends in Lansing, 7:30 a.m., The Game, WVFN AM. Also streaming live on X, on YouTube, and on Facebook. I guess I've been thinking a little bit about backup quarterbacks. I know. I trust me. I'm thinking about Taylor Decker. Is he coming back? I'm thinking about defensive ends. I'm thinking about drafts. I'm thinking about a lot of different stuff, just like you are. But I couldn't help but think, as players get a little bit older, and it's not like Jared Goff's super old, but as they get a little bit older, what is the risk in how are you prepared? Detroit wasn't very well prepared for certain guys being injured. I think it's fair to say when you've got safeties, it's not easy, okay? But you've got safeties missing a lot of time. It was a struggle. Terrion Arnold, the cornerback, missed a lot of time. It's a struggle. Enos Rakestraw missed 2 years. It's been a struggle, right?
That's been a rough one, yeah.
Yeah. The depth is what we're getting at. How comfortable do you feel with Kyle Allen? Most people don't even give it a second thought because Jared Goff has been so steady. Most people you talk to, just stop them on the street. Hey, are you a football fan? Yeah. You like the Lions? For sure. Who's their backup quarterback last year? Have no idea. A guy who might fit, not that he's a free agent right now, but he might be a cap hit casualty, and it makes sense to go along with Drew Petzing, is Jacoby Brissett. With Petzing in Cleveland, with Petzing in Arizona, and actually had some pretty good games. Makes a lot of sense. Anyway, it's something I've been thinking about. And when I've been thinking about that, I've been thinking about the hiring of Drew Petzing. Have a chance to step back a little bit. The initial reaction was negative. I think most people felt that way. Where did this guy come from? When I hear that explanation, I immediately think, are you mad because you didn't have him as your shortlist candidate? Or are you glad, or are you upset because you don't think he's the right fit? Or are you mad that they could have had somebody else who was on your short list? You know what I mean? So I'm not sure how this guy fits. The obvious name everybody wanted is now in Los Angeles with the Chargers and Mike McDaniels. I can't say that I wanted him, all right, because I was a big Zach Robinson guy, but that's what most writers and many people thought. Oh my gosh, he's in for an interview. He's been a former head coach. This is the guy you should absolutely go after. Not a guy like Drew Petzing, who's hired by Jonathan Gannon, who's not going to be a head coach again. And this guy, blah, 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 right? Well, we haven't really heard much from Drew Petzing. And we get the sense that Dan Campbell is taking a bit of a chance here. I think that's fair to say. Dan Campbell missed on Anthony Lynn. In fairness to Dan Campbell, he recognized it quickly, severed ties, cut his losses. We always respect a lot of teams that can do that. Our teams don't seem to be able to. Otherwise, Javier Baez never would have seen an all-star season last year. Right? Okay. So we love it when other teams can do that. You know what makes them really good? They recognize that, and then they get rid of them. Well, Dan Campbell did the same thing with the coach. And then it was a tough backup to Ben Johnson, who left for Chicago. And you go out and you get a guy that just didn't seem to fit for whatever reason. How is this guy going to fit? Here's Dan Campbell on this whole situation. Listen to this.
I think he's going to fit in really like a glove. To be a really good coordinator, I think you have to know all of it. You have to know the run game, you have to know protections, and certainly the pass game. Drew he checks every one of those boxes, man. It's about somebody being detailed, have knowledge of it, man, enthusiastic, good communicator, all of those things. So before I even brought Drew in, every time we had crossover tape, I loved watching his offense. I just thought he was pretty creative. I thought the run game had a lot of versatility, the play pass. They found ways to move the football. The guy's very calm, he's very confident, and he fits us.
Okay. I do feel, and tell me if I'm wrong here, I feel like Lions fans are getting a little weary of Dan Campbell's positivity.
Well, they've heard it before. They've heard it before when it's failed. They've heard it before when it's worked, but they've heard it a lot.
Yeah. So when you hear him say he checks all the boxes, do you think there's an offensive coordinator out there? It's just the hyperbole drives me nuts.
Did John Morton not check all the boxes then? I mean, what are we talking about here?
Not just that. Is there an offensive coordinator on any staff that doesn't know the run scheme, the pass scheme, the coverages, the blockings? Is there any OC out there that comes in and says, tell you what, you handle this, and I'm just going to handle this part of it?
Yeah, you would certainly hope not.
Yeah, what are you an offensive coordinator for?
Yeah, what's your job, buddy?
That's what the coordinator position or the definition or the word in the job description, that's what it is. Otherwise, you're a tight ends coach.
Yeah, Shepard, my initial reaction to that quote,
coordinator. Yeah,
it doesn't do anything for me. I'm not mad at Dan Campbell, but it doesn't move the needle for me whatsoever because it's like, okay, you basically just read off his job description. You believe in him. Great. We're not going to be able to form any opinions until at least training camp when maybe the players come forward and start talking about him or something like that.
One of the more famous phrases that we're living through over the last 2 years, 3 years is word salad. We hear that quite a bit. To me, what Dan Campbell just gave us is word salad. Now, in fairness to Dan, you can't sit there and go, well, you got to prove it to me. He can't prove it to you until we see it. I don't know what Dan Campbell could have said that would appease you and I. I'm trying to be fair here.
Yeah, and that's why I don't really care that he said it.
Both sides. I try to look at both sides of everything, all right? I think that's the right way to go about things. If I'm Dan Campbell, what can I say that's going to please Trent Valley, that's going to please a lot of Lions fans who weren't enamored with the hire? What could I possibly say? There's probably not much, but the one thing you can't say is the obvious. The same stuff. He checks all the boxes. No blank, Sherlock. He better check all the boxes. This is what you've done. So when we come back, Drew Petzing, we'll hear from Drew Petzing on the Lions organization. You know damn well what you're going to hear there. You're looking for something different. Maybe not you. I'm looking for something different, and I'm not getting it. And that adds to my frustration. We'll talk about that when we come back here on X's and Bros here on a Tullymore Thursday. We're brought to you this hour by our friends at Meyer.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community, just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements. This center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact the Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Grocery shopping at Meijer is a good deal better with family favorites for under $2, like red seedless grapes for $1.88 per pound. General Mills Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Honey Nut Cheerios, just $1.99 each. And select varieties of Meijer pasta are only $1 each. Great family meals at a great value. That's the good life at Meijer. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
Huge here for the annual Grand Rapids Griffins Purple Community Game, which is coming up on Friday, March 13th at Van Andel Arena in downtown GR. It's a night dedicated to supporting research into diseases like cancer and Parkinson's at Van Andel Institute. The Griffins will be taking on the Milwaukee Admirals in special purple jerseys, and you'll have a chance to bid on a limited edition purple jersey of your own after the game. It's a night you won't want to miss. Learn more about the Grand Rapids Griffins Purple Community Game at vai.org/events and also at griffinshockey.com.
Thanks for tuning in to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard, only on the Michigan Sports Network. And don't forget the huge show later today at 3 p.m.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
1 hour from now, Keith Smith, NBA Sports Writer, Sport Track, will join us here, and the Front Office Show will join us here on X's and Bros. We'll talk about the NBA at the All-Star break. We'll talk. I'm not going to talk about the All-Star game, but I do like the fact that Detroit's got a few All-Stars. You got to count the coach.
And it's a chance to just stop and look at the season.
Sure.
A little bit of retrospective, because
Sure.
you do have about a week to evaluate where teams are at.
Yeah, and look, we're past the midway point. I mean, these All-Star games, when people say first half, second half, it's not really first half, second half.
Very unofficial first half. Yeah.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. If you like, I did this with I was talking baseball yesterday with somebody, and they were like, "Wow, this this team just certain guys didn't deliver in the second half." And I said, you mean post All-Star game? They go, yeah, the second half. I go, well, it's not really the second half. I said, I'm not trying to be a jerk about this. I said, they played 91 games or so, well, probably a little bit more than that, in the first, before the All-Star game. 63, 64 after the All-Star game. It's not a true indication of halves. I know it's splitting hairs, but I mean, at some point you got to recognize it's not really half and half. So they look at the first. I mean, it's even in Baseball Reference. You look at the first half, for example, Spencer Torkelson, first half hit 234, had 21 homers. Second half, 10 homers and 248. And people will go, well, look at his second half. It wasn't even half of what he did in the first half. Well, he also played 30 less games. So I'm not saying he would hit 21 homers, but he sure probably wouldn't have been held to just 10. That's kind of my point. Anyway, so that we're going to talk with Keith Smith about Cade Cunningham, chances of MVP. Okay. We're going to talk about Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart and their fines, what the NBA's fine scale is, why 65 games is important when you look at postseason awards, and so on and so forth. He joins us about an hour from now here on X's and Bros. All right, back to the Drew Petzing situation. So we heard the Dan Campbell soundbite and the blah, blah, blah. If I'm looking at a coordinator, he's got to know the run game. He's got to know the protection. He's got to know the passing game. Okay. Thanks, Dan.
Thanks for the job description. On
I sure as hell hope so. He checks all the boxes. He knows all that. Can you imagine? Yeah, I think he checks most of the boxes. He can really handle the run game and the pass game, but he's really bad at protection. So we'll leave that up to Hank Fraley. Oh, well, how does he qualify that? Of course, that's good communicator. He's versatile. All right. He's not quirky like Mike McDaniels. Did you want to say something like that? Anyway, Dan Campbell gives us that stuff. Now, Drew Petzing. We hear from Drew Petzing, and this was from the Lions Twitter handle. This is the Lions getting your simple questions. There's nothing deep there. What makes you qualified for this? What are your strengths? Instead, it was about who are his influences and what it means for him to go to the Lions and ownership and all the promotional stuff. I love the access. So don't get me wrong. I love the access to the coaches and the players that these team-oriented websites and team-oriented Twitter handles and social media handles deal with.
Yeah, we have more access than ever before. There's no doubt.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. All I'm telling you is when people hear this stuff, you know what they're going to say. What are you giving me? The access, I'm just hearing his voice. I'm seeing him in a Lions sweatshirt. Oh, he likes to play golf. Great. How does that help me as a fan? It doesn't help me at all. I'm not going to necessarily see him playing in the Meyer Open next year. Okay? So I don't have to worry. That doesn't mean anything to me. Trying to get to know a guy is really difficult through sound bites. But asking the new offensive coordinator those questions doesn't really do a service to your fan base. Your fan base doesn't want to know what he likes to do or what his favorite meal is. Your fan base wants to know initially, How are you going to incorporate Jahmyr Gibbs differently than the last guy? What are your biggest concerns with this team right now? And what is it that lured you to this job in the first place? Other than, I need a job, I lost my job in Arizona. Tell us what you think you can do to make this offense better. I don't think that's that hard. That should be like the first question. Welcome to Detroit. Just out of curiosity, how can you impart some knowledge and make this offense better? Simple. Let him answer. How do you plan to incorporate Jahmyr Gibbs into this offense maybe a little bit more, knowing that this team has two good running backs? Let him answer. Isaac Tesla was a third-round draft pick. He didn't see a lot of action last year. Not many targets, but highly productive when he was targeted. How can you incorporate him more into the offense? Your offensive line was challenged last year. How do you fix it? You had a mobile quarterback, 2. You have one that is more an in-the-pocket presence. How do you help him be the best he can be without sounding like a Marines commercial? You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think those are fair questions. Those are the things that every Lions fan wants to hear. Eventually, if you want to get to, hey, what's it like coming here as a coach? Oh, I love the organization. I love the fan base. All those right answers. That's fine.
And that's where I think they kind of got it backwards, to be fair, because I do think he'll get asked the majority of those questions or something along those lines by the media when he meets with the media. This wasn't that. This was just an introductory, get to know your new offensive coordinator.
I know, but don't tell me that this comes from the fan base, because it doesn't.
No, it doesn't at all. No.
Fans aren't wondering which restaurant are you going to go to when you come to Detroit.
That's why I'm saying I think they got it backwards. If they would have released this in a month, maybe it would have been received differently. But the fact that this is the first we're hearing from him and not the questions you're alluding to, that's a little frustrating.
Isn't getting to know you also getting to know what you do for a living? It's part
of course.
It's part of who you are. It's not all of who you are. He's a father. He's a husband. He's a golf enthusiast. He's a snowboard enthusiast. Awesome. Great state to be a part of that. Okay? So I'm happy for you. I like that. It's not that I don't mind knowing that, but if that's the meat of the conversation, I'm out. Right? I mean, you're a football fan. You're a football coach. Even though you don't want to be defined as such, this is what people want to know. Trent, you're out there all the time. Friends, people recognize you, maybe recognize the voice. You tell them what you do, and suddenly, where does the conversation go? To sports.
Of course.
Eventually it might be, hey, where'd you go to school? I went to MSU. I'm really a proud Spartan. What do you think of the Spartans? It'll branch off, but it starts with what you do because people are trying to get to know who you are.
Right.
And it's the same thing here. Who he is isn't necessarily defined by what he does. But for a Lions fan, that's what you want. Here's Drew Petzing now on this team in general, coming to the Lions organization. Go ahead.
I think one of the things that's so exciting about being here in Detroit in this organization is, the history, the culture, the fan base, and just how much it means to the city. And just seeing how much it meant to everybody, how they went about their business, from ownership on down. I think it's just such an unbelievable organization to be a part of. And then obviously, one of the things that makes this job exciting is the players. And to be able to come into this roster and this opportunity to coach these guys and work with these guys, knowing the talents are there, knowing that there's some work to be done, just extremely excited on so many different levels.
That last part of the answer was a little bit better.
There's work to be done. What work?
I said a little bit better.
But he says, excited for and obviously the roster, the players. Yeah, tell us how you're going to help them. You had 2 receivers get 1,000 yards last year. How can you divvy that up amongst 3?
Yeah, like what specifically about that talent makes
what
you
are you
excited?
going to do? How much do you think? It's well known he made Trey McBride a lot of money. Okay, I mean he's one of the best tight ends, if not the best tight end last year, right? Okay. What does Sam Laporta have in his football arsenal that is similar to Trey McBride? And how can you expose that? the generic stuff, okay. Look, how passionate the city is. That's just an olive branch to the city. Please accept me. He could have said the same thing about Cleveland when he was in Cleveland. They got a passionate fan base. You got the dog pound people. They live for that team. There's nothing special there. Here he is on Ford Field or on the organization and its leadership, ownership.
I think Ford Field and the atmosphere on game days probably, if not the best, it's right there. You know, having come in, I've played here twice on Thanksgiving, played here 6 straight years, and I feel like I've played here. I actually played Buffalo here, which is kind of crazy. Not a lot of people could say that. But I do. I think what makes the atmosphere so special is the fans. I think the passion that they pour into the game and the team and the organization makes it a special place to coach, a special place to play, and just thrilled to be a part of it.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, we know that.
It's just another just olive branch type of response.
Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. And I'm not trying to be hard on him and the Lions in general. I was just hoping for more. When I see a headline that says "Get to know this guy," I'm thinking this is going to be great.
And it was far from that.
Well, the reason I say that is because what was the complaint? You and I were on the air, people calling, texting. What was the complaint about Drew Petzing?
They don't know who the hell this guy is.
Right. Do you now know who he is?
No.
And when people say, I want to know who he is, it's more about his philosophy than anything else. He's not a well-known OC, right?
Fair.
Okay. So when you're not well-known, it's not that people want to know what your sweatshirt size is. People want to know what your football, not even terminology, but what your football philosophy is. That's what they want. And you didn't get any of it. This might have been the best soundbite from the whole 3.5-minute clip. And I get it. I mean, they only had him for a certain period of time. This is not going to be sitting down for an in-depth situation, blah, 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 blah. But hey, listen, my response to that has always been, you've got him. Nobody else does. You got him in your building every day. He knows this is part of the deal. Every coach, every player knows this is part of it. Last year, when the Lions drafted Tyleik Williams in the first round and then Tate Ratledge in the second round and Isaac Tesla in the third round, those guys knew we're going to have to sit down and we're going to have to do this stuff. This is what happens in sports. We used to, I think I told you this yesterday, when we were at spring training, we would bring the Tigers would come into a room there in the facility, and they would answer some of the questions that you see on the big board at Comerica Park. Then they would make their way. They would literally open a door, walk in. It looked like a little classroom. They would sit down in a chair. We'd mic them up, and I would conduct interviews with them for sound bites that we could use, if not throughout the season, at least the first month of the season. Okay? Then they would move on to the back. It was like a big barn. You open up these massive steel doors, you walk in, and we've got a camera there, and we're shooting what we call hero shots. So when you saw TV coverage, you would see them with the bat pointed at the camera. You've seen it, right? Bat over their shoulder, pretending like they're swinging, pretending like they're throwing, whatever. All that stuff is all done in training camp, spring training. Okay, it's all filmed and it's all saved, and then we use it throughout a season. Now they don't do that anymore since new ownership or since new leadership took over. They didn't feel like that was very important, so they don't do it any longer. Frees up their athletes, but every athlete knew going into spring training that, in all likelihood, we were going to do that with about 30 guys. Okay, just in case we have to see this guy, even though he's going to start in AAA. You get it, right? They knew that was happening. Football's no different. It's no different. When training camp begins, maybe it's OTAs. But for us, when I was doing Lions way back in the day, training camp, they come in, that's what they're going to do. You're going to sit them down, and you're going to do where do you think they get Aiden Hutchinson on the scoreboard going, let's go? That's where they get it. It's not like they got him just before the game. Hey, before you get out there and stretch, can you just give us a let's go once to put up on the big scoreboard? No, they don't do that. Those are all taped a long, long time ago. So Drew Petzing knows this is something that he's got to do too. You got him. Take advantage of it. Give us something, right? Not doing it. Listen to this. This might be the best soundbite of the whole sit down regarding Drew Petzing as the offensive coordinator with the Lions. Go ahead.
I think one of the things you try to do as a coach is you are constantly learning. You're always trying to find new ways to do things, new ways to communicate, new ways to teach, new ways to attack a defense. But that's a process that's never going to be complete.
Good. I get it. He's always trying to learn. Every coordinator would say the same thing. But
in theory, he's not going to be stubborn and stuck in his ways. That's what he's getting at.
Right. Yeah.
And you like to hear that based on what happened last season with John Morton.
Right. And he's going to evolve, right? At least that's what he's telling us. He's going to evolve. All the other sound bites. And look, I mean, Trent cut up all of it. It's not like we left stuff on the edit room floor. All the other sound bites were just, okay. You could have literally put those words associated with anybody else in the National Football League, and everyone would have gone, yeah, I guess I could see him saying that.
Especially when they first take the job. When you first take the job and you're trying to win the fan base over, you're trying to make a first impression, that's exactly what you say. And that's why they call it coach speak.
Exactly. That's exactly right. That's why they call it coach speak. That's well said. Wouldn't you love to? You can't get him to talk about every single player, but wouldn't you love to hear him talk about how fortunate you think you are with Penei Sewell? Maybe something along the lines, Pro Football Focus, for what it's worth. Hi, Chris Collinsworth. Penei Sewell, a 95.2. 95.2 in 2025. That was his rating. It's the highest rating of any offensive tackle over the last decade. Jordan Mailata had the same in 2024. Penei Sewell had a 93 in 2023. Trent Williams is all over this. He's got 3 of the highest 10. But Penei Sewell's got 2 of the highest 10, including the top 2. Wouldn't you love Drew Petzing's thoughts on what it's like to have that type of protection? Are you going to move him to left tackle if Taylor Decker leaves? I'm probably getting way too deep into the weeds. I just felt like there was a lot left on that bone that you could have given us that at least satisfies us for the short term. Keith Smith's going to join us to talk NBA at the bottom of the hour, our final hour on a Tullymore Thursday. Comes your way after this. We're brought to you by Meijer.
Grocery shopping at Meijer is a good deal better with family favorites for under $2, like red seedless grapes for $1.88 per pound. General Mills Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Honey Nut Cheerios, just $1.99 each. And select varieties of Meijer pasta are only $1 each. Great family meals at a great value. That's the good life at Meijer. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
The Freddie the Pizza Man Foundation is dedicated to providing support to families and Michigan schools touched by autism. We invite you to join us in supporting these families and schools by making a donation at freddythepizzaman.com. With your donation, you can help provide essential resources that can make a real impact. Visit freddythepizzaman.com to make a donation and to learn more about the foundation's mission. That's FREDI thepizzaman.com. Together, we can make a difference.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLyonsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Farrah's Coffee has been family-owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Ferris Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
From Grand Rapids, Kalamazoo, Muskegon, Petoskey, Charlevoix, Traverse City, Cadillac, Lansing, and beyond, you are listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard only on the Michigan Sports Network.
Huge here for Josh Garvey and his team at Dorn Mayhew, West Michigan. Now, they continue to grow. They got their worldwide headquarters in Troy, Michigan, on the east side of the state. They are worldwide. They are the leaders when it comes to accounting, CPA, and business needs. Simple and easy. Just Google Dorn Mayhew. And also, Josh Garvey joins me every Tuesday as we talk hoops with former Michigan and Cleveland Cavaliers head coach John Beilein. Tuesdays, 5 p.m., Josh Garvey, Coach Beilein, and myself, we talk Michigan, Michigan State, and the Pistons. Talking hoops happens all the way through the NBA Finals. And could you imagine if the Pistons are in the NBA Finals? If you ever have a hoops question for us, you can drop it at Huge Show on Twitter, The Huge Show on Facebook, and Talking Hoops every Tuesday at 5 p.m., presented by one of the world's top accounting, CPA, and business firms, Dorn Mayhew.
top of the hour. Got me going. All right, welcome back. Final hour of the program. It's brought to you by Avello. This hour brought to you by Avello Air. Honored to be part of a partnership with them. This is a group of people and an airlines that they don't mess around, and they understand how difficult it can be for other airlines or for you with other airlines. So they want to make it hassle-free for you. They do. They want to give you the type of service you deserve. They do. They fly direct, Grand Rapids to Detroit, or Grand Rapids to Lakeland, Detroit to Lakeland. And they're ready to take you to Lakeland for spring training. Nonstop from Grand Rapids to Lakeland, Thursdays and Sundays. Nonstop Detroit to Lakeland, Wednesdays and Saturdays. Every day, low fares, reliable service. You can book your trip at avelloair.com. Use the promo code HUGE, by the way, HUGE, and you'll get $20 off a round-trip base fare when you book by March 31st. I mean, some restrictions do apply, but overall, you're not getting anything better than that. Talked to a lot of these folks yesterday. It was fantastic. They understand your passion for Tigers baseball. They understand that you want to go to Lakeland. You want to go watch your team. Who wouldn't? Framber Valdez, Justin Verlander back, Gleyber, Kyle Finnegan back. I mean, yeah, sign me up. So head back there and see what's all up, okay? And you do it with Avello Air. Good stuff. So they bring us the final hour of X's and Bros here on the Michigan Sports Network. In case you missed it last night, Pistons take care of business against Toronto, 113-95. They shot 46%. They hit 14 threes. Cade Cunningham had 28 points, 9 assists, 7 rebounds. Paul Reed had 22. We talked about it in the first hour, how valuable he has become. Tobias Harris had a double-double. The Pistons at the break, 40 up, 13 down. Perhaps the most impressive thing is how they've handled their business within the conference. Nobody's even close. They're 26-7. If I asked you, what's the next best record within the conference? And I'm talking about just teams that have played against the Eastern Conference. What do you think is the next best record? I kind of gave it away earlier. 24-13. That's Boston. And that's the Knicks. They have almost twice as many losses as the Pistons do. Let's take it to the Western Conference. Who do you think has the best record against the West, within the West? It's OKC. They are 32-9. I'm not sure about the winning percentages. I think that's a little bit better winning percentage, but they played more games within the conference. When all is said and done, Detroit might have the best overall record within a conference of any team in the NBA.
And either way, whether they are first or second behind the defending champs, I mean, come on. That's remarkable either way.
Oh, it's incredible.
Would you take it? Of course.
This needs to be stressed a little bit more. They are 5.5 games clear in the conference. 5.5. They're 7 games clear in the division. Although I'm not going to lie, I think the team to watch out for in the East is Cleveland. Besides Detroit. I mean, if Detroit has to, quote unquote, worry about any team, it would be Cleveland. You know the suspensions by now. Isaiah Stewart missing 7 games. Didn't matter last night. And Jalen Duren missing 2. Michigan comes back. They beat Northwestern 87-76. You watch the first half of that game, you'd say they have no business being in the game whatsoever. Down by as many as 16 in the second half, they come back and they win by double digits. They win 87-76. They outscored Northwestern 52-31 in the second half. The Wolverines have won 9 in a row. They're 23-1 on the year. In Big Ten play, they are 13-1, and they've won 19 of their 23 games by double digits. They're the best team in the country. As of right now, they're the best team in college basketball. And they should beat UCLA this weekend. And that number 1 reflection will take place next week. The hardest games left on their schedule. That's the thing that I was looking at yesterday. And I'm like, I wonder who could trip them up. Look, I get it. The Big Ten is tough. It's a really good conference, and just about anything can happen.
Well, last night was case in point. Even though the
let's-
Wolverines came storming back, you can't take a night off.
Right, of course not. And I know that's a cliche, but it's true. But let's look at it realistically. Who can trip them up? They got to go to Mackey. Purdue's pretty good. Are they as good as Michigan as of right now? No, but you got to go to Mackey next week. Okay, on the 17th, you're going to play Purdue at Mackey. I think it's the only time they play Purdue, and that's going to be a challenge. All right, because that place, as I've said, it's the loudest building in the Big Ten. My perspective. After that, they've got a neutral site game. I think it's in Washington, D.C. against Duke. Duke's really good. That could be a slip up.
That game is in D.C. You're correct.
Is it in? Yeah. Okay. They have to go to Champaign-Urbana. You could see them possibly stubbing their toe there. They have to go to Iowa. Never play great at Iowa.
Never easy.
Okay. And you have to host MSU. Now, I know. Michigan beat them up pretty good down the stretch, final 6.5 minutes or so in East Lansing. Michigan State finds ways. It's going to be close. It is. I don't know for how long. I'm not saying Michigan State's as good as Michigan because they're not. Right now, they are not. You can't argue that. I don't care how much you bleed green and white. I was talking with my daughter about this last night. They're not better than Michigan. Michigan's proven it overall. Michigan's proven it head-to-head. But when it comes to that situation and knowing full well that Michigan State felt like they let parts of the game get away, they will be ready. There's still some tough games left on that Michigan schedule. Purdue, Duke, at Illinois, home to Michigan State. And I would rank them in that order, by the way. I think their toughest nut to crack will be at Purdue. Then it's against Duke at a neutral site. Then it's at Champaign-Urbana. And then it's home to MSU. I don't mean to disrespect Minnesota, but I'm going to disrespect Minnesota. So Michigan a winner last night. Team USA plays today against Latvia. Trent, do we know what time that's at? Because I have not. I'd love to watch that. I just don't know what time it's on.
Yeah, let me look right now.
So I was looking for the schedule. All right, and I know Team USA opens today, and
3:10 p.m. Shep.
3:10. Thank you. They are in Group C. They play in the same group as Denmark and Germany and Latvia, and they should have no problem winning that group. I would guess Group A will be won by Canada. I would guess Group B would be won by Sweden, maybe Finland. And Group C will be won by the United States of America. Those are your powerhouses. Russia's not in it. Sorry. But those are your powerhouses. Here's our Mitch Lineswell poll question of the day. We have one for you every single day. We ask you this today. Who's going to win a title this year? Which team is more likely to win a title this year? The Pistons or the Tigers? No disrespect to the Red Wings. I don't think people view them as the best team in their division, let alone the conference, let alone the league. You could make the argument that the Pistons are the best team in the National Basketball Association. If we had somebody from OKC across from me, I could go toe-to-toe right now saying, well, I think Detroit's better. I may not win the entire argument, and I may be proven wrong when all is said and done, but I think I could make a very compelling case. The Tigers are the best team in the division. On paper right now, if they're healthy, they're the best team in the AL Central, and you can make a case outside of Toronto and Seattle, they are a top 3 team in the American League. So I love that the expectations are high, and I love the poll question. Which team is more likely to win a title this year, Pistons or Tigers? Vote as often as you want at XB Mornings. I've already retweeted it at Shep Matt, and the results come your way on a Friday morning. Keith Smith will join us at the bottom of the hour. We'll give our final results of the poll question from yesterday and the daily wager, plus a little bit of a peek into how you would grade the Lions draft class from this past season. That's coming up here on X's and Bros on a Tullymore Thursday. We're brought to you this hour by Avello Airlines.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's community. Just like Mitch Lyons Wealth helps improve the quality for their clients' retirements, this center helps improve the quality of life for people with Parkinson's.
And Gibby, the best part of all is that access to the center is available to the Parkinson's community free of charge, right?
That's right, absolutely free of charge for people with Parkinson's and their care partners.
You hit a couple of the most famous home runs in Major League history, Gibby, but I feel that your greatest hit will be the positive impact that Kirk Gibson Center is making in the fight against Parkinson's.
Mitch, since my diagnosis, I get up every day and focus on winning that day. This center encourages others to do the same.
Awesome, Gibby. To learn more, go to kirkgibsoncenter.org.
Grocery shopping at Meijer is a good deal better with family favorites for under $2, like red seedless grapes for $1.88 per pound. General Mills Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Honey Nut Cheerios, just $1.99 each. And select varieties of Meijer pasta are only $1 each. Great family meals at a great value. That's the good life at Meijer. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
You're listening to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard on the Michigan Sports Network. We'll be right back after this break, but while you're waiting, be sure to vote on our daily poll question presented by MitchLyonsWealth.com at XB Mornings on X.
18 after the hour. Welcome back. X's and Bros Monday through Friday, 6 until 10. Coming up, looking forward to the NBA discussion, the basketball discussion with Keith Smith. You can follow him on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. He writes for Sport Track and has the front office show. So we will have him on here shortly to talk about the Pistons and the punishment that they received in Charlotte, how just it may be, and why 65 games. We said this earlier in the show. Why 65 games? Nikola Jokic should be in the conversation for the MVP. I'm not saying he should win it, but don't tell me he shouldn't be in the conversation. He's the first player and only player in NBA history before the All-Star break to have 1,000 points, 475 rebounds, 400 assists, 250 free throws made, 75 threes made, 30 blocks. Now, let's be fair. Maybe he's the only player because of how deep the season goes before the All-Star game, where in the past it may have been closer to the middle of a season. Nikola Jokic has missed 16 games because of injury. So just keep that in mind as we move forward. All right. Phone number on the Meyer hotline, 866-838-4843. You can always text our program, Sports Radio 21,000. We always appreciate you giving us part of your day. When you think of the Lions and the draft, the draft's in April. You've got franchise tags starting February 17th. You've got NFL Combine starting February 23rd. You've got free agency window opening March 9th. Free agency totally begins March 11th. And then the NFL draft is April 23rd. We will be knee-deep into Tigers baseball by then. But it is something worth looking at. Every team is doing that. Every market is doing that right now. How is your team going to get better? Well, the draft last year, you know what the draft brought you, okay? You brought you Tyreek Williams as a first-round pick. I know a lot of people who did not like that pick. And the reason they didn't like it is because when he had to play Michigan in his 4 years, he was, according to them, nowhere to be found. I don't know if they drafted for need, but that's how they had him high on the board, and he had 1 sack. Played 17 games, but he had 1 sack. Tate Ratledge was your second-round pick, Isaac Tesla, and he started every single game. Isaac Tesla played in every game. He was your third-round pick. Miles Frazier was hurt at the beginning, played 5 games. Then it was Ahmad Hassanin, injured, really didn't get any action. Dan Jackson was hurt. Dominic Lovett was a special teams guy once in a while when healthy. There you go. All right. That was your draft choice. Those were your draft choices. CBS Sports came out with a grade of draft picks. So, for example, Cleveland got an A+. Carson Schlesinger was named to the all-rookie team in the defensive rookie of the year. Mason Graham was really good. Harold Fannin as a tight end was rock solid. Keshawn Junkins was really good out of the backfield in sharing time. So just as an example, that was an A+. They got the highest grade. Chicago Bears got an A too. Colston Loveland, outstanding. What do you think Detroit got? Let's not even look at CBS Sports. Let's just say you and I. How would you have graded the Lions rookie class?
B-.
B-? B as in boy? Okay. All right. I wouldn't have you're generous. I wish I had you as a teacher. I would have graded it lower than that. I would have graded it a C.
Ratledge brings it up for me. And Tesla came on strong enough at the end to bring it up a little bit for me. But
yeah, Williams was a disappointment for me as a
yes,
first-round
for
pick.
sure.
He didn't make the impact I expected. Tesla was not used properly. It's on the coaching staff, but it's
got to factor in
some of it on him. Right. Other than that, you're right. Ratledge, but how did he grade out? He was okay. So I'm giving them an okay grade. Might be even too high. Because you know me, I think you need starters. All 3 of them, I wouldn't call all 3 of them starters. 2 of the 3 were. Tesla didn't start every game, played in every game. some special teams there, but I don't want that out of my third-round pick. Frazier, there's nothing you could do. He was injured. So I'll let that slide. I hope he's better this year. I think it was just an average draft. When we're just looking at it from 1 year deep. CBS Sports agrees with Trent. They gave him a B-. Detroit found a couple of solid starters in the class, defensive tackle Tyleik Williams and Ratledge. Neither is likely to become among the top tier of their respective position, but the floor is high. Ratledge allowed 2 sacks and 24 pressures, according to True Media. That's what I mean. I mean, you could look at all these different websites, all these different. Come on, really? You think he allowed only 2 sacks? I find that hard to believe, don't you? Jared Goff suffered more sacks in his career this year than at any other point. 38 sacks. Tate Ratledge is only responsible for 2. I bet you Lions coaches would strongly disagree. Anyway, wide receiver Isaac Tesla was not useful beyond the occasional splash play downfield. How much of that is on him? How much of that is on the coaches not using him the proper way? Everybody shares in that blame. So they agree with Trent. Maybe I'm a little bit too harsh, but I haven't seen anything. I didn't see anything that made me go, yes, I've got to have that guy. I'm so glad they chose that guy, all this other stuff. I think it's a really dangerous thing. First, I think it's dangerous to start grading guys after 1 year.
That's the bottom line. It is.
Yes. Yeah. But
it's good discussion. It's a good talking point.
But if I said to you, your first overall pick averaged 1 tackle a game, how would you feel?
Yeah, you wouldn't be happy with that.
If I said to you, your first overall pick, not that D tackles are supposed to have a lot of sacks, but had 1 sack, had 2 tackles for loss. I may not expect a lot of sacks out of him, but I think it's okay to expect some negative plays. He had 3 quarterback hits and 2 tackles for loss in 17 starts.
Yeah, he didn't pop. Point blank. He didn't pop at all.
Right. And he played 40% of the snaps. That's enough to have better numbers than that. Let's get to the final results of the poll question from yesterday, because we want Keith Smith to join us without interruption. The poll question yesterday, who would you want to start the home opener, Skubal or Verlander? Just trying to get a sense of people's emotions here. What did the masses say?
71% do want it to be Tarek Skubal. 29% want it to be JV.
All right. I respect that a great deal. I thought it would have been just the opposite. I'm glad you surprised me. How did your daily wager do last night?
We are 3-0 on the week because I took the Pistons -1.5. Now, the spread did change to +1.5 once the suspensions came out and they found out that both Stewart and Duran would be not playing. Whatever. I still would have taken it. I was confident last night the Pistons rolled. So 3-0 on the week.
Right.
Shep, I'm going to go with your hockey game coming up at 3:10. USA at Latvia. U.S. is -1.5 on the puck line, so they got to win by 2. I think they will win by 2 goals.
I wonder how much the women's record so far. They've scored 20 goals, allowed 1. I wonder how much that inspires Team USA. I don't know, but they play Latvia later on today.
Real quick for you right here, the women's hockey team, the U.S. women's hockey team, they are -6.5 against Italy today. They're supposed to win by 7 goals.
Yeah, they probably will. They're the best team in the world. And
that's a huge number. That's awesome.
It's really not close. They shut out Canada 5-0. It's not close.
Nuts.
The U.S. has surpassed Canada, at least in that aspect of the sport. I love that, man. I got some stories about that we'll have to tell at a different time. Keith Smith will join us on the other side. We'll talk NBA. We'll talk basketball in general. Stay with us.
Grocery shopping at Meijer is a good deal better with family favorites for under $2, like red seedless grapes for $1.88 per pound. General Mills Cinnamon Toast Crunch or Honey Nut Cheerios, just $1.99 each. And select varieties of Meijer pasta are only $1 each. Great family meals at a great value. That's the good life at Meijer. Exclusions apply. See all deals in the Meijer app.
You've worked hard for decades saving in pre-tax retirement plans like 401ks and IRAs, saving on taxes now. But as your retirement now approaches, you're going to get taxed at rates you have no control over. Hi, I'm Mitch Lyons, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth. Your 401k balance isn't worth what your statement says. You could lose thousands of dollars to taxes, and those distributions can impact other areas of your retirement like Social Security and Medicare. Could a Roth IRA conversion be of help to you? You've probably heard of Roth conversions, but it can be confusing. Should you convert all at once or over time? Where should you pay the taxes from? How do you know for sure? Get our free personalized Roth Blueprint analysis today to find out exactly what makes sense for you. Your Roth Blueprint could potentially increase your lifetime wealth by thousands of dollars. So get your free Roth Blueprint today. Text Blueprint to 844-867-8335. That's Blueprint to 844-867-8335. Or go to MitchLionsWealth.com, your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement.
Farrah's Coffee has been family owned and operated for over 100 years. Its popular Den Blend and Dark Roast is more than coffee and more than the official coffee of the Detroit Lions. It's a call to rise. Farrah's Coffee and the Lions are the perfect match. They embrace those who show up early, cheer loud, and never back down. Den Blend is perfectly roasted in Grand Rapids and provides the ultimate fuel for fans who wake up and roar. Whether you're tailgating at the game or cheering from your couch, Den Blend is your go-to coffee for your game day ritual.
Thanks for tuning in to X's and Bros with Matt Shepard, only on the Michigan Sports Network.
Make sure you listen weekly to our Moving Ferris Forward interviews with Ferris President Bill Pink and other leaders who are moving Ferris forward. Find out more about Big Rapids and Ferris and what they have to offer at ferris.edu.
Okay, 35 after the hour. Always enjoy the knowledge and the conversation with Keith Smith. He's been on before. Honored to have him on again. You can follow him on Twitter at Keith Smith NBA. He writes for Sport Track. He has the Front Office Show. You can find that on YouTube as well. And he joins us here on X's and Bros, brought to you by Avelo Airlines on a Tullymore Thursday. Keith, thanks as always. We appreciate it. You know what the big story is here in Detroit, and that is the suspensions to Isaiah Stewart and Jalen Duren. 2 games for Duren, 7 games for Stewart for fighting in Charlotte. What did you think of the suspensions? Fair, unfair, or how do you think the message that was sent by the NBA Office of Commissioner was delivered?
Yeah, Duren's one is in a lot of ways just the easier one to process. Anytime things get physical to the level it did involving him, you're probably going to get at least a game. And then I think the fact that things get kind of close to the seats and all of that's going to add, an additional game on. So that one I'm not too, concerned about. The Stewart one, I'm seeing a lot of reaction, including from Pistons coach JB Bickerstaff, saying he wishes it was less games. Now, maybe he's just having his guys back. But when you look at the fact that there's a pretty lengthy history now for Isaiah Stewart with this kind of stuff, the fact that he came all the way off the bench to the other end of the court to get into it, that's not going to fly. I was nowhere in the camp of, it should be the rest of the year and ban them and all the other stupidity that people were saying just to get a reaction out of folks. I was nowhere near that. I thought it'd be 7 to 10 games. So, 7 for me is that's, more than a fair punishment.
I thought the same thing. I really thought it was going to be a little bit higher. I thought it was going to be 10, but those who were saying 25, I thought were completely out to lunch. I get it, okay? There is a reputation they have built, and rightfully so. I don't know how good it is for them, but they have built a reputation of a tough, hard-nosed basketball team. I hope it doesn't sway national people from seeing just how good they are skill set-wise. Do you think this hurts them long-term, and if so, how?
Yeah, I don't think it's going to hurt them long term. I do think you are right. I think you're going to get and part of being one of the best teams in the league, which very clearly they are. They have the equal amount of losses with the Oklahoma City Thunder, and nobody will say the Thunder aren't great. So it's time we start talking about the Pistons like they're also a great team. And I think what's going to come with that is, of course, increased scrutiny, right? They're no longer a fun story like they were a year ago, where it's like, hey, look at this team that was absolutely god awful, and now they're, a playoff team. Like, what a fun story. Now it is, all right, there's expectations, and with expectations comes increased scrutiny, and you're going to get some scrutiny of style of play and all those things. One rep they're starting to get around the league from teams within the league is, they're like the bully on the playground. They want to push you around and do all that stuff. But if you stand up to them, all of a sudden it's a little, whoa, wait a minute. Hey, who punches back to the bully? And that is a little bit of a thing that they're going to have to deal with as things get more intense down the stretch, and obviously more intense in the playoffs. But I think from a national coverage perspective, if anybody starts suggesting, well, they're not actually good, they're just overly physical, that's just, ignorance and not understanding that this team has a lot of good players. They have a full-blown superstar in Cade Cunningham, and, it's time to start respecting them as a good team. That style of play is, based on physicality, but they're not good because of that.
What do you look at to convince yourself, or anybody you may argue with, that they are legitimate? Because I mentioned earlier and all morning, they're 26-7 against the East. Nobody else is even close to that. Like the Celtics have 13 losses within the conference. And I know it's not the be-all, end-all, Keith, but it is part of what you use to determine whether or not a team is good within their division and within their conference. What do you look at, and what has convinced you that this team is legit?
Yeah, I think one of the big things that I will, usually go to with these things is, all right, how do these various metrics stand up? And offensively, they are a little bit better than middle of the pack, and that probably feels about right as you look at them. But defensively, they're outstanding. They're right there with the Thunder, just a little bit behind them, and those two are outpacing the rest of the league by a pretty good margin. So when you look at the old saying, defense travels, that's true. They're going to be there. Their offense, they do a really good job of creating second chances. They're all over the offensive glass. They do a good job of getting free throws, which is, that's a way to make sure when you're not always the best shooting team, you can kind of get into a place where you're going to be able to still score points, and it's not all going to fall apart on you when the games turn into a grind. And then when you get into the personnel-wise, you start looking at things, and it's like, okay, who's the guy on a team when we get into a playoff series and it's we need a bucket that's going to go get us one? Well, you got Cade Cunningham. He is that guy. And I think J.B. Bickerstaff, a good and smart enough and now experienced enough coach to be able to draw up ways to make sure he gets shots, make sure he gets, what he needs. The depth is good. There's a couple guys we're going to see, right? Like guys like Thompson and Holland and even Duran to some extent in a playoff series, playoff run with real expectations. Do those guys hold up? It's going to be interesting to see what that looks like, because against a guy like Thompson and even some extent Holland, teams are just going to say, hey, if you're out by the arc, we're just not going to guard you. And if we lose because you make 4 or 5 3-pointers, we'll tip the cap and ask you to do it again next game. And that's going to be things they're going to need to work around. But they have all the pieces in place, and their profile suggests this team is a legitimate contender.
You want to know anything about the NBA, you follow Keith Smith on Twitter, Keith Smith NBA. You also read his stuff on Sport Track, and you follow his show, The Front Office Show. He's joining us here on X's and Bros. Do you believe teams need a Batman and a Robin? And if so, who would Detroit's Robin be?
Yeah, it's funny. I was asked this exact question the other day, and I said, I think teams need a Superman. And it's nice if you can get a Batman and a Robin. And I think in Detroit's case, they have their Superman. Now, who would their Robin be? I think in an ideal world, it's Jalen Duren, where he is kind of playing that almost inevitable style where it is going to be, all right, he's a force on the glass. He's more than holding his own defensively and offensively. He's getting the ball. He's making good decisions. He's finishing around the rim and doing all those things. Unfortunately, for a big man, it can be kind of hard unless you're Nikola Jokic and there's one of those, or Victor Wembanyama and there's only one of those. A lot of things, they're not going to create things themselves. They're not going to go get the ball and make things happen all on their own. They're relying on others. So from that standpoint, I think for Detroit, as odd as it may sound, this deep into his career, but it's probably still Tobias Harris who needs to be there as that second option offensively. They still need somebody else who can go get his own shot. And Harris, and then you get into guys like Karis LeVert, Dennis Jenkins, who are the next best guys at creating a look, right? They're still a little overly reliant on Cade Cunningham. That's something that's either going to come with internal development for guys like Holland and Thompson as they grow, or they're going to have to go out and get that guy eventually. But right now, they're doing okay with that. I almost want to fast forward because they're going to be fine the rest of the regular season. I almost don't really care. They're going to win the conference. That is great. I want to fast forward to the playoffs and see how teams scheme and defend these guys, and if they have the right counters and ability to still free up Cunningham to do his thing. That's going to be the big question for the Pistons.
We feel Cade Cunningham is MVP mentionable worthy. You mentioned a number of other names, Nikola Jokic, Victor Wembanyama, of course, the reigning MVP, and Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. Where do you rank Cade Cunningham compared to those other fine superstars in the league?
Yeah, he's in the mix for sure. This is not anything about Cade Cunningham. We're going to get some wonky stuff now with postseason awards because guys aren't going to be eligible. Not that LeBron's in the mix for winning MVP, but he missed his 18th game the other day. He's no longer eligible to make All-NBA, which has happened every year since he was, a rookie in the league. So we're in a spot where you're going to get weird results like that, where some guys are just not going to be eligible, and that's going to push other guys up. Now, here's where I'll say, regardless of that, Cade Cunningham is in that mix anyway. Like he's that good, and the team is that good. And when you get to a place where you're having incredible individual success, but that incredible individual success is driving team success, that's where you start talking about a guy as an MVP candidate. So he should be on that list. I don't know that he'll win it. I still think it's going to be, provided that they're eligible, it's probably going to be a two-horse race between Shea Gilgeous-Alexander and Nikola Jokic, but Cade Cunningham's definitely going to make a bunch of ballots.
You mentioned the 65 games. How does the league determine that you have to play 79% of the games, number one, in order for you to be up for postseason awards? When it's clear, Nikola Jokic, who he's still eligible, but it's still got to be kind of tough because he's going to have to play virtually every game moving forward, is the only player in NBA history before the All-Star game to have 1,000 points, 475 rebounds, 400 assists, 250 free throws made, 75 triples made, and 30 blocks. He's the only player in history to do that, and yet he might be on the outside looking in. And by the way, he missed 16 games. How did they come up with the number?
Yeah, the number was it was a negotiation with the Players Association, and it feels like they landed eventually at a number that felt right to everybody, or it felt close enough that, hey, if you give us this, we'll give you that kind of situation. And then it was all put in place because they did not want guys openly sitting out games when they were healthy enough to play. The idea behind it is, hey, if you're one of the true stars in the league, and these awards and these things that are, in a lot of cases, drive bigger contracts and the like, you need to play. You need to be on the floor. That's what people get there. I mean, they went through before, not saying that this has fixed things, because it hasn't, but before this was put in place, they went through a number of years where fans were starting to really complain and going to the individual teams and saying, hey, I paid a lot of money for tickets, and tonight, it was 3 two-way guys and 4 into the bench guys who played all the minutes. Like, what is happening here? And that's something that the league is, very conscious of, is they want their star guys on the floor, and this was just another way. 65 feels a little arbitrary. I had heard at one point they thought about making it 70, and everybody's like, well, 70 is, you sprain your knee and you're out 3 weeks, and all of a sudden 70s and, in jeopardy, and they landed on, all right, 65 there's a couple caveats where they can kind of like, all right, we're going to give you a break on these couple of games and that, but yeah, it just feels like the number they ultimately landed on.
As you look at the Eastern Conference in general, and we think the Pistons, with a 5.5 game lead right now, have proven they're the best team in the East as of right now. Who do you think is the biggest threat to them?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would still say Cleveland and New York are right there. Cleveland got off to a very slow start, but has really played some pretty good basketball down the stretch here going into the All-Star break. The Knicks had one rough patch, but have really rebounded nicely from that. I think Boston, if Jason Tatum can play and can be some version of Jason Tatum that's pretty helpful, even if it's not 85-90% healthy, because he's not going to play till he's 100% healthy, but 85-90% production-wise, then I would put them in that mix too. They've had a really good season as well. So I think that's kind of your top 4 in the East. And no disrespect meant to any of the other teams, but they all have very real flaws that may hold them back. And now the question with Cleveland and New York is, are you going to get it done? Especially Cleveland, because they've had good teams the last few years, and then hasn't translated to postseason success. Now they tried to rectify some of that with their moves at the trade deadline, so we'll see. And then the Knicks feel like they really have the right kind of team to make a real run. And all those teams present different challenges for Detroit too, because all 3 can defend and all 3 can score. And that's where things, could get a little sideways for the Pistons if they can't keep up with some of the shooting and some of the scoring. And these, we know they're probably all going to defend. That's where it could get a little sideways. But, that's not to say the Pistons aren't on that level, because they absolutely are.
Yeah, I think I get the Cleveland because of the acquisition of James Harden. They've got 3 really good, strong scoring options there and guys who can defend down low. Harden will never be confused with the defender. The hard one for, I think, Piston fans to accept is New York. The team has lost by 38 and 31 to Detroit. Neither game was close. I mean, I think, and this is not you, but I think people pump them up because they're the Knicks. They haven't done anything for anyone to believe that they are a legitimate threat other than making it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year, in which they were favored but lost to Indiana. Help me and help our audience explain what the affinity is for New York outside of the obvious from a national media standpoint.
Yeah, there's definitely some of what you're saying of, all right, they're the Knicks, so we're all going to, put them up here. There's definitely some of that. And there's, I think, some self-preservation in there with folks as well. It's a very large and very loud fan base that'll let you know if they feel a certain way about the way you're talking about their team. So I think some people are, they'll just kind of toss them in. For me, basketball-wise, their starting five, when they're feeling healthy and good, it's pretty good. It's a balanced group. They have a lot of offense. They have some defense. But I have a real question for them once we get into playoff series. Jalen Brunson and Karl-Anthony Towns are going to play a lot, and those guys are not good defenders. And that's something that Detroit has really taken advantage of. They seek out Brunson and or Towns with Cunningham with the ball in his hand, even with LeVert at times, with Jenkins, when they had Jaden Ivey. They're not, going to relax at all on attacking them. And then the Knicks are one of those teams where when they like to be physical, but they're another one of those teams when a team is physical back with them, they tend to be it throws them a little bit off, especially guys like Bridges and Hart and Anunoby, who are very handsy and like to play, with a lot of physicality on the perimeter. When somebody else is knocking them around a little, it tends to throw them off a bit. So that's where I think Detroit has had great success with them is, all right, you want to go to the physical route? Let's go. Like we're happy to play that way because you're not going to match us there. And then they're so good at taking their time, being patient and saying, hey, we're going to hunt. If it takes, setting 5 screens in one possession to get the end matchup we want to attack, we're going to get there eventually. Good luck if you're playing those guys. And that's where things get a little sideways for the Nets.
That's well said, Keith, and I respect it. For me, this is just me personally talking. I think it's the most overrated franchise in the history of sports. They haven't won a world they haven't won a world championship since 73. They haven't won a conference title since 97. They haven't won their division since 13. And if it weren't in the hub of the largest media market, no one would be talking about that organization the way people do. But I do understand, I guess, the landscape from which it comes. I always understand your expertise, and I greatly appreciate it. It's always fun to talk basketball with you. Keep up the fantastic work. Don't be afraid to join us again, I hope. Keith Smith, NBA. That's the Twitter handle. Read his stuff on Sport Track. Watch him on Front Office Show on YouTube. Have a great All-Star weekend, Keith, and thanks for the time today on a Tullymore Thursday.
I appreciate it. Thank you so much for having me.
You bet. That's Keith Smith joining us here on X's and Bros. Really good stuff. I hope I wasn't too harsh there at the back end there, Trent. I don't think that's Keith.
No, I don't think you were.
Just talking in general. Thank you for some of your time here on a Thursday. This hour has been brought to you by Avello Airlines. We'll be back with you tomorrow morning, 6 o'clock. Don't forget the huge show later on today, 3 till 6 on these same great station affiliates. Have a great Thursday, everybody.
Mitch Lyons here, founder of Mitch Lyons Wealth, where we create your best game plan to protect, grow, and win retirement. I'm here with Tiger legend Kirk Gibson, who we are proud to support and partner with on the newly opened Kirk Gibson Center for Parkinson's Wellness.
Thanks, Mitch. We appreciate your support, and we are excited to have recently opened the center in Farmington Hills. It provides exercise therapy and educational programs that are helping the Parkinson's